David Malik was a man used to control. His life was built on decisions, deals, and careful planning. From a small garage in his hometown, he had built a business empire that now spanned continents. Luxury cars, private jets, and sprawling estates were his normal. But the one thing he valued above all else was his daughter, Mia. She was 7 years old, bright and full of curiosity. But a rare condition had left her confined to a wheelchair. David had learned to navigate life with her needs in mind, but his business instincts often made him impatient when things did not go according to plan. Today was meant to be different. Today, David had decided to make a surprise visit to Mia's school. He wanted to pick her up personally and celebrate a small but important achievement in her learning journey. He had called ahead only to ask the school secretary for Mia's schedule, giving no hint of his arrival. There was a thrill in the secrecy. A rare break from the structure of his daily life. David drove his sleek black car down the quiet streets of the town. The school, a modest building painted pale yellow with green trims, looked unremarkable from the outside. Yet inside, it was a place filled with laughter, learning, and the small triumphs of everyday childhood. He parked in front and glanced at his reflection in the side mirror. His suit was perfect, as always, and his tie was straight. For once, the suit was not for a boardroom meeting or a high-stakes negotiation. It was for Mia as he walked toward the main entrance. He saw students milling in the courtyard, their voices blending into a cheerful hum. Some recognized him immediately and whispered excitedly to their friends. David nodded politely, but did not stop. His focus was on Mia. He knew where she usually spent her afternoons. In a classroom on the ground floor, designed with accessibility in mind. Inside, the atmosphere was lively. Mia was at her desk, concentrating on a drawing she'd been working on for days. Her teacher, Ms. Lorna, moved around the classroom, helping students with questions about their projects. She was strict but fair, and she treated every child with the same patience and care. Her voice was calm, yet it carried authority that made the students listen without fear. David's heart swelled as he looked at Mia. She had always been resilient, never letting her condition dim her curiosity or her enthusiasm for learning. Her bright eyes lit up as she sketched, and a soft smile played across her lips. David felt a tug in his chest. He had missed so many small moments because of his busy schedule. Today, he would reclaim some of that lost time. He approached the classroom door, intending to announce his arrival with a gentle knock. But before he could, he saw Miss Lorna's expression change. She looked toward him, recognition flashing in her eyes. She walked over calmly, placing a hand on the back of a student who had risen to greet him. "Mr. Malik," she said politely, "it is a surprise to see you here." David smiled, trying to contain the excitement bubbling inside. "I wanted to see Mia myself today. I thought I could take her home a little early. She has done wonderfully, and I want to celebrate her progress." Ms. Lorna nodded, but there was a firmness in her voice that David had not expected. "I understand, sir, but Mia is in the middle of a group activity. It is important for her learning and for her classmates. I hope you understand." David's brow furrowed. He was not used to being denied. "I understand, but she is my daughter. I would like to take her with me for a short while. It will not disrupt the class too much." Ms. Lorna's gaze did not waver. All students are equally important. Mia's participation is essential, and I cannot let her leave until the activity is complete. David felt a sharp twinge of anger. He was a man accustomed to results, and he believed in efficiency. Waiting was not in his nature. Yet, as he looked at Ms. Lorna, he realized that her calm demeanor was not weakness. There was a quiet strength in the way she stood, a commitment to her principles. Mia, sensing the tension, looked up from her drawing. Her eyes widened when she saw her father standing there. "Daddy," she whispered softly, her voice filled with surprise and delight. She reached for him, but Ms. Lorna gently guided her back to her wheelchair. David's heart softened at the sight of Mia's eager expression. He knelt beside her, resting a hand on her shoulder. "Hi, sweetheart. I came to see you. I wanted to take you home early today, just you and me." Mia smiled. her excitement evident. "Really? You came for me?" "Yes, I did," David replied. His voice was warm, but he could not hide the tension in his tone as he looked at Miss Lorna. "It will just be for a little while. I promise we will come back." Ms. Lorna's expression remained steady. "David, Mia is an important part of this activity. It teaches cooperation, problem-solving, and leadership. These skills are as valuable as anything learned at home. I cannot let her leave yet." David felt a surge of frustration. His instincts screamed that he should take Mia immediately. But as he glanced at the classroom, he noticed the other students watching silently. Some were curious, some nervous, and there was Mia, caught between wanting to join her father and wanting to respect her teacher's wishes. He took a deep breath, trying to calm himself. This was a situation unlike any he had faced before. No amount of wealth or influence could force Ms. Lorna to bend her principles. For the first time, he realized that power had limits, and some battles were not won by force or money. "I see," he said slowly, straightening up. "You believe this is important for her. I want her to grow, to learn, and to be strong. If this activity teaches her those things, then I will wait. But I hope you understand why I am concerned for her." Ms. Lorna nodded, a faint smile appearing. "I do, David. Your concern comes from love. That is clear. And that is why we must work together to help Mia grow in all ways." David looked down at Mia, whose small hand reached for his. "Do you want to stay for a little while, or do you want to go with me now?" Mia paused, thinking carefully. "I want to stay a little. I can help my friends finish the project. Then I can go with you." David's heart swelled with pride. His daughter was showing patience and courage beyond her years. He realized that this was a teaching moment, not just for Mia but for himself. He had come to take control, but now he would learn to wait, to observe, to support. He stood quietly, watching as Mia wheeled herself to a group of students. She began to explain an idea she had for the project, her voice confident, her eyes shining. David saw her leadership emerge naturally, the way she encouraged her peers and offered solutions. He felt a wave of admiration. Ms. Lorna noticed David's change in expression. "You see, David, she is capable of more than we often imagine. Sometimes the lessons come in moments we cannot rush." David nodded. "I see that now. I came here thinking I would teach her something, but I am learning too." The classroom was filled with quiet activity as the students collaborated. Mia's group was brainstorming ideas, and her input was guiding them. David moved to a corner, observing without interrupting. He realized that this was not a challenge to his authority, but an opportunity for Mia to shine in her own way. As he watched, he felt a new respect for Ms. Lorna. She had not been rude or dismissive. She had been firm, consistent, and fair. Her dedication to teaching and to the students' growth reminded him that true influence comes not from wealth, but from commitment and care. David's frustration melted into admiration. He understood that this surprise visit had turned into something greater than he had anticipated. It was no longer just about taking Mia home early. It was about witnessing her potential, seeing her courage, and understanding the impact of guidance and mentorship. For the first time in a long while, David felt a sense of humility. He realized that while he could provide material comfort and opportunities, there were lessons that could only be learned through patience, perseverance, and the support of those who believed in growth. Mia's laughter rang out as she shared an idea with her group. David smiled, feeling a deep warmth in his chest. This was a moment he would never forget. He had come expecting to give, but he was receiving far more than he could have imagined. As the first part of the activity continued, David resolved to stay a while longer. He would let Mia complete her task, and in doing so, he would honor the lessons of patience, respect, and trust. Today was not just a visit, it was the beginning of a new understanding between father, daughter, and the teachers who shaped her world. The classroom buzzed with quiet energy as students clustered around their small tables. Crayons, colored paper, and markers were scattered across the surfaces. Mia had wheeled herself to the center of her group, a determined look on her face. Her father, David, had moved to a corner, quietly observing. He had expected this visit to be brief, a simple pickup. But he realized he was witnessing something far more important. Yet, even as he admired his daughter, David's patience began to strain. He could feel the tension building in his chest. He had come with excitement, anticipating the joy of taking Mia home early. Instead, he was being asked to wait. The thought was foreign to him. He had spent years building a business empire, making quick decisions, and getting immediate results. Waiting was not part of his life. Ms. Lorna moved gracefully between the groups, her attention divided among the students. When she reached Mia's group, she crouched to be at eye level. "Mia, I know you want to leave, but we are so close to finishing. Can you help your team complete this last part?" Mia nodded. "Yes, Ms. Lorna, I want to help." Her voice was small but confident. She looked at her father, trying to reassure him that she was all right. David's frustration flickered again. He approached Ms. Lorna cautiously, careful not to appear aggressive but determined to be heard. "Ms. Lorna, I understand you want her to finish this activity, but she is my daughter. I want to spend this time with her. Can you make an exception?" Ms. Lorna's expression remained calm, but her tone carried authority. "David, I cannot make an exception. Not for you, not for anyone. Every student has a responsibility to their group. Mia's participation is crucial, and she is committed to helping her classmates. This is a moment for her growth, and I hope you can respect that." David took a deep breath, trying to keep his temper in check. He had faced many challenges in his life, but this was unfamiliar. In business, arguments could be resolved with negotiation or compromise. Here, money and influence held no sway. He was reminded, almost painfully, that not every situation could be controlled. "I respect you, Ms. Lorna," David said slowly, choosing his words carefully. "But I am concerned for Mia. She has worked hard today, and I want her to feel appreciated. This is a special day for her." Ms. Lorna nodded, acknowledging his concern. "I understand, David. Your love for Mia is clear. But sometimes, showing appreciation also means letting her complete a challenge. Encouragement comes in many forms. This is one of them." David glanced at Mia again. She was fully engaged with her group now, giving suggestions and helping solve small problems. Her classmates looked to her for guidance, and she delivered confidently. He realized that even in this small activity, Mia was learning lessons about leadership, patience, and collaboration. These were lessons that no luxury or gift could provide. He walked slowly to the back of the classroom, his mind racing. He had always prided himself on knowing the right solution to every problem. But now he was faced with a situation where the right action was to step back and observe. David had to admit reluctantly, this was one of the most difficult challenges he had ever faced. The other students noticed the tension in the room, but they continued their work, speaking in hushed voices. Some glanced at David with curiosity. They had seen him arrive in his sleek black car, had whispered among themselves about his wealth and influence. Now they watched silently, wondering if his presence would disrupt the class or if he would leave in anger. David crouched beside Mia's wheelchair for a moment. "Are you okay, sweetheart?" he asked softly. Mia smiled up at him. "I'm fine, Daddy. I want to help my friends. You can watch if you want." Her words struck him with unexpected clarity. His daughter was showing patience and maturity beyond her years. She was not asking him to intervene. She wanted to fulfill her commitment. David felt a mix of pride and humility. He realized that this was a teaching moment not just for Mia but for himself. He stepped back, leaning against a wall. He would watch, but he would not interfere. For the first time in his life, David understood that sometimes the greatest way to support someone you love is to give them space to grow. Ms. Lorna moved to another group, observing quietly. She had noticed David's presence from the start and had anticipated his desire to take Mia away. Her approach was firm but respectful. She had dealt with parents who tried to interfere, and she knew that showing patience and consistency often led to the best outcomes. Today, she saw the same challenge in David, but she also sensed the potential for understanding. The activity continued, and Mia's group faced a small problem. They needed to decide how to complete a part of the project that required teamwork and creative thinking. Mia spoke first. "We should try this idea. It might work, and we can check it carefully." Her classmates listened, and together they experimented with her suggestion. When the plan succeeded, they cheered softly. Mia beamed, her confidence growing with each success. David watched, feeling a swell of pride. He had always known his daughter was bright, but seeing her in action, leading others, and solving problems, was a revelation. David realized that Ms. Lorna's insistence on letting Mia finish the activity was not stubbornness. It was a carefully thought-out decision meant to teach life lessons. Leadership, patience, problem-solving, and empathy were just as important as academic knowledge. These were qualities that could shape Mia into a strong, independent person. He felt a deep respect for Ms. Lorna. Her dedication to her students went beyond teaching. She was shaping character, instilling values, and helping children discover their potential. David understood that this required more courage than running a company or making a business deal. It required patience, consistency, and belief in the abilities of others. As Mia continued her work, David reflected on his own life. He had spent years striving for success, often focusing on wealth and power. But he realized that true success was measured differently. It was measured by the impact you had on others, by the way you nurtured growth and encouraged potential. Watching Ms. Lorna guide Mia and her classmates, he saw a new kind of strength, one that could not be bought or commanded. Time passed, though it felt both short and long. The students worked diligently, and Mia's group made steady progress. David noticed the subtle ways she encouraged her friends, offering guidance without dominating, listening carefully, and adjusting her approach as needed. Her natural empathy and intelligence shone through, and he felt a deep admiration for her resilience. At one point, a small argument arose among the students. Two of them disagreed on the best approach to finish their project. Mia intervened calmly. "Let's try both ideas and see which one works best. We can combine them if needed." Her solution was simple, fair, and effective. David realized that these were lessons in leadership could never have taught her in a boardroom or with money. Ms. Lorna noticed David watching. She smiled faintly. "See how she handles challenges? These moments are what build character." David nodded, silently agreeing. He had come with the intention of teaching Mia something about celebration and reward, but he was learning more than he could have imagined. He was learning about patience, humility, and the value of guidance. Mia's group finally completed their project. The sense of achievement in the classroom was tangible. Students shared high fives and smiles, and Mia's eyes sparkled with pride. She looked toward her father. "Daddy, we finished. Can we go now?" David smiled warmly. "Yes, sweetheart. Let's go. I am very proud of you." He turned to Ms. Lorna, his expression sincere. "Thank you for letting her complete this. I see now why it mattered. I understand your dedication, and I respect it." Ms. Lorna nodded, her calm demeanor unchanged. "David, you have every right to want to spend time with your daughter. I hope you see that supporting her growth sometimes means letting her face challenges. You have done a great job in being patient and allowing her to experience this." David felt a weight lift from his shoulders. The tension that had built during his arrival dissipated, replaced by admiration and gratitude. He realized that his initial frustration had been born from love, but also from a lack of understanding. Now he understood that guidance, patience, and trust were often more powerful than immediate results or control. He wheeled Mia toward the door, her small hand in his. She looked back at Ms. Lorna and waved. "Thank you, Ms. Lorna. I learned a lot today." Ms. Lorna smiled. "You are very welcome, Mia. Keep learning and helping others. That is what makes you strong." As they left the classroom, David felt a renewed sense of perspective. Today had started as a simple visit, but had transformed into a lesson about patience, trust, and the value of nurturing potential. He realized that wealth and power could provide comfort and opportunity, but true growth came from courage, guidance, and the support of those who believed in others. For David, this was a turning point. He had come to take his daughter home, but he left with a new understanding of life, teaching, and the strength found in patience and encouragement. Mia's small victories had taught him more than any business deal, and he knew that he would carry these lessons with him forever. As they walked to the car, Mia chattered happily about her day, while David listened intently, his heart full. He knew that today had been a gift, not just for Mia, but for himself. David Malik sat quietly in the corner of the classroom, his arms crossed over his chest. He had thought that observing Mia's progress would calm his frustrations, but now he felt a growing tension he could not ignore. Ms. Lorna's calm authority and unwavering rules challenged everything he believed. He had always thought that love meant protecting his daughter at all costs, but here, in this small, sunlit room, he saw a different lesson unfolding. Mia's group had completed the project, and their success had brought small smiles and quiet congratulations from their classmates. Yet David noticed a subtle change in Miss Lorna's demeanor. She was watching him as carefully as he was watching her. Her eyes were calm but carried a quiet warning. It was clear she sensed his inner struggle, his impatience, and his desire to intervene. David took a deep breath. He had always faced challenges head-on, but this was different. He could not solve it with power, influence, or speed. This was a challenge of patience, understanding, and emotional intelligence. Yet he could not let it pass entirely. He needed to speak, to understand, and to assert his perspective. Even if it risked conflict. "Ms. Lorna," he said, standing and moving closer, "I need to understand something. I see the value of this activity, but why insist on holding Mia here? She has done her part, and she has given her time and effort. Shouldn't she be allowed to leave now?" Ms. Lorna did not flinch. "David, the point is not just about completing the project. It is about the experience itself. Mia's participation teaches her responsibility, teamwork, and resilience. These are lessons that cannot be rushed or skipped. You may see it as holding her back, but it is guiding her forward." David's frustration surfaced, but he tried to keep his tone calm. "I understand your intention, but I am her father. I am responsible for her well-being. I have a right to decide what she should do and when she should come with me." Ms. Lorna tilted her head slightly, her gaze steady. "And I respect your concern, David, but you are not her teacher. You are not her guide in the same way we are during school hours. She trusts us to help her grow, even when it is difficult or different from what she expects." David felt a wave of conflicting emotions. He loved Mia fiercely and wanted to protect her, but he could see the truth in Ms. Lorna's words. She had spent months guiding his daughter, observing her strengths, supporting her weaknesses, and encouraging her potential. He realized that his idea of care had been limited to comfort and immediate gratification. While Ms. Lorna's approach focused on growth and learning, he glanced at Mia, who was watching the conversation quietly. Her eyes were calm, and she seemed to understand the tension in the room. She looked at her father and then at Ms. Lorna, as if silently encouraging him to listen. To see the situation from a broader perspective, David sank into a chair, feeling the weight of his emotions. He had come expecting to control the situation, to guide it according to his own instincts. Instead, he was confronted with principles that challenged his worldview. Ms. Lorna had not only stood her ground, but she had done so with dignity, compassion, and clarity. He realized that this was a confrontation not of personalities, but of values. Mia's small voice broke the silence. "Daddy, I like being here with my friends. I learned something important today. I can show you what we did when we go home." David looked at her and felt a pang of pride. She was demonstrating patience and understanding, qualities he had long valued but rarely seen so clearly in action. Her ability to balance respect for authority with her own desires impressed him deeply. Ms. Lorna stepped closer, her tone gentle but firm. "David, parenting is about love, but it is also about teaching patience, respect, and resilience. You have provided Mia with comfort and opportunity. Now, we provide her with guidance and experience. Together, we help her grow into a strong, capable individual." He had spent his life achieving success through ambition and determination. Yet here he was, learning lessons from a teacher. He felt a humbling awareness settle over him. True guidance was not about power or control. It was about nurturing growth, sometimes in ways that felt uncomfortable or slow. He spoke quietly, more to himself than to Ms. Lorna. I thought I knew the best way for her. But perhaps the best lessons are the ones I cannot give directly. Ms. Lorna's faint smile acknowledged his insight. Exactly, David. Growth often comes from experiences that challenge expectations. Mia is learning that her actions matter, that her contributions have value, and that patience can lead to success. David leaned back, reflecting on the events of the day. He had seen Mia demonstrate leadership, problem-solving, and empathy. He had witnessed her inspire others and handle disagreements with fairness and calm. These were qualities that could not be taught with money, gifts, or simple encouragement. They required experience, mentorship, and opportunities to face challenges. As he absorbed this, he felt a shift within himself. Anger and frustration gave way to admiration and understanding. He realized that Ms. Lorna's insistence on letting Mia complete the activity had not been a challenge to his authority, but a demonstration of care and principle. She was not denying him. She was empowering his daughter. David's reflection was interrupted when one of the students approached Mia's group with a question. Mia responded confidently, guiding her peers without dominating. David watched her interact, and he felt a swell of pride. She was learning to navigate social dynamics, communicate effectively, and lead with empathy. These were lessons that would serve her for life. Far beyond the walls of the classroom, Ms. Lorna observed silently, allowing David to see the results of her teaching. She had created a space where learning went beyond academics. It was about character, courage, and collaboration. David realized that this was a type of strength he had often underestimated. Quiet, steady force that shaped individuals into capable, confident human beings. David rose from his seat, moving closer to Mia and her group. I see what you mean now, Ms. Lorna. These lessons are important. I came here expecting to guide her, but I see that she is being guided in ways I cannot provide. I respect that, and I thank you for your dedication. Ms. Lorna nodded, her calm presence steady. Thank you, David. I appreciate your willingness to understand. It is not easy to step back, but it is often the most important part of guiding a child. David glanced at Mia, who had finished assisting her group. She smiled up at him, her eyes shining. Daddy, can we go now? Yes, sweetheart. Let's go, David said warmly, kneeling to her level. He felt a deep sense of pride and gratitude. His daughter had taught him patience and humility, and he had learned to trust the guidance of those who cared for her growth as they prepared to leave. David felt a newfound respect for educators and the work they did. He realized that true leadership was not just about commanding and achieving results, but about nurturing potential, instilling confidence, and guiding others through challenges. Ms. Lorna had demonstrated these qualities with quiet strength, and David knew that her influence would shape Mia in ways that extended far beyond the classroom. Mia's classmates waved goodbye as they left the room. David held her hand tightly, feeling her small fingers curl around his. You did wonderfully today, he said softly. Mia beamed. Thank you, Daddy. I liked helping my friends. David smiled, realizing that this experience had been transformative for all of them. He had come expecting a simple visit, but he had gained insight, humility, and a deeper understanding of what it meant to support growth and character. He knew that this day would remain with him forever, a reminder that true guidance sometimes required patience, observation, and trust. As they stepped out of the classroom and into the hallway, David felt a lightness in his chest. The tension of the morning had given way to understanding, pride, and respect. He knew that the lessons learned today would shape not only Mia's future, but his own approach to parenting, leadership, and life. Walking toward the exit, David reflected on the journey so far. He had come expecting to control the situation, but he had been challenged in ways he had not anticipated. Through patience, observation, and understanding, he had learned that true guidance was about empowerment, not control. And as he looked at Mia, full of joy and confidence, he knew that this lesson had been worth every moment of tension and uncertainty. David Malik guided Mia down the hallway, her wheelchair moving smoothly over the polished floor. He had expected this walk to be filled with small talk, perhaps some laughter, and a quick explanation of the surprise he had planned for her. But instead, he found himself reflecting on the lessons of the classroom. The day had started as a simple visit to pick up his daughter. Yet, it had transformed into an experience that challenged his understanding of patience, guidance, and love. Mia glanced at her father, a smile on her face, but there was also a quiet confidence in her eyes. "Daddy, I am happy we finished the project," she said softly. "I liked helping my friends." David nodded, feeling a swell of pride. He realized that her words carried more than the description of an activity. They reflected leadership, responsibility, and empathy. He had watched her grow in ways that no material reward could have provided. Today had shown him that nurturing potential required patience and trust, not control or haste. As they approached the school's courtyard, David noticed the small details he had previously overlooked. The sunlight filtered through the trees, casting soft shadows on the brick paths. Students laughed and played in the open space, their voices carrying a rhythm of energy and curiosity. Even in such a seemingly ordinary setting, David began to see lessons unfolding, lessons about cooperation, resilience, and the quiet courage of everyday life. David paused for a moment, allowing Mia to look around. She pointed to a small group of students building a structure from blocks. "Look, Daddy," she said. "They are working together. I help my friends like that too." David smiled, realizing that Mia had internalized what Ms. Lorna had been teaching all morning. She had learned to observe, guide, and collaborate without dominating. It was a subtle but powerful form of leadership, one that required humility and awareness. He felt a sense of awe at the growth he had witnessed. As they continued toward the parking area, David reflected on the confrontation he had earlier with Ms. Lorna. He had come expecting immediate results, wanting to assert his role as a father and protector, yet he had been challenged to step back, to observe, and to trust in the guidance of someone who had dedicated herself to the growth of his daughter. In doing so, he realized that true love sometimes meant restraint, patience, and support rather than immediate action. Mia's laughter broke his thoughts as she shared a small story from her day. "Daddy, I taught my friend how to solve the problem with the blocks. She was happy, and then we worked together to finish it." David felt a warmth in his chest. He recognized that these small moments were far more valuable than any gift or material reward he could provide. They were the building blocks of confidence, resilience, and self-belief. In this quiet moment, he understood that his role as a parent was not only to provide, but also to observe, guide, and support. Reaching the parking lot, David paused beside his car. He took a moment to look at Mia, who was happily adjusting her backpack and chatting about her classmates. He realized that the lessons of the day had shifted his perspective. He had come to assert control, but he had learned to respect patience, guidance, and the quiet wisdom of those who dedicate themselves to nurturing growth. "Mia," he said gently, kneeling to meet her eyes, "I want you to know how proud I am of you today. You have shown patience, leadership, and kindness. Those are lessons that will help you for the rest of your life." Mia smiled brightly. "Thank you, Daddy. I learned a lot today. Ms. Lorna helped me." David nodded. He felt a deep gratitude for the teacher who had challenged him in his expectations. Ms. Lorna's guidance had created a space where Mia could thrive, learn, and grow. He realized that true strength was not in asserting authority, but in empowering others to discover their own potential. As they approached the car, David noticed other parents watching, some with curiosity, others with admiration. He realized that moments like this were rare, where growth and learning became visible not only to the participants but to those who observed. Today had been such a moment, a turning point where patience, guidance, and trust converged to create something meaningful. David helped Mia into the car, securing her seatbelt and adjusting her wheelchair for comfort. As he closed the door, he took a deep breath, reflecting on the lessons of the morning. The classroom confrontation, the guidance of Miss Lorna, and Mia's growth had combined into a profound realization. He understood now that true leadership and love were not measured by control or immediate results, but but by the ability to nurture, support, and trust in the potential of others. Driving away from the school, David felt a sense of calm he had not experienced in years. The city passed by in a blur, but his mind remained focused on the events of the day. He thought about Mia's confidence, her ability to lead and collaborate, and the quiet strength she had displayed. These were qualities that no amount of money or luxury could provide. They were the result of guidance, experience, and trust. Mia looked out the window, her mind clearly still buzzing with the day's experiences. "Daddy, I am going to try to help more of my friends tomorrow," she said. David smiled, feeling a surge of pride. "I am sure you will, sweetheart. You have shown today that helping others is one of the greatest strengths you can have." He thought about Ms. Lorna once more, reflecting on the quiet strength she had demonstrated. She had challenged him not to undermine her authority, to recognize that true guidance sometimes required patience and faith. David realized that educators like her shaped the future in ways that wealth and power could never achieve. They taught resilience, empathy, and leadership, the foundations of humanity itself. As they drove, David made a silent promise to himself. He would continue to support Mia, but he would also step back when necessary, allowing her to face challenges, learn, and grow. He understood now that love was not just protection. It was empowerment, patience, and belief in the abilities of those you cared for. Mia turned to him, her eyes sparkling. "Daddy, can we go to the park for a little while before heading home?" David chuckled softly, feeling a lightness in his chest. "Of course, sweetheart. Let's go. You deserve it after all your hard work today." They arrived at a nearby park, where children played and families enjoyed the afternoon sun. Mia wheeled herself toward a small sandbox, eager to explore. David followed, observing her with pride. He saw not just his daughter, but a young girl learning, growing, and embracing her abilities. The lessons of patience, leadership, and empathy were now clear in her actions. And David knew that these qualities would guide her throughout life. Sitting beside her, David encouraged Mia as she interacted with other children. He watched as she shared toys, offered guidance, and collaborated on small projects with her peers. Each moment reinforced the lessons he had learned earlier, that growth comes from experience, challenge, and support. Not just comfort or reward. David reflected on the contrast between his world of wealth and influence and Mia's world of learning and collaboration. He realized that while he could provide material resources, the most valuable lessons came from character, empathy, and resilience. Today had shown him that true wealth was not measured in money or possessions, but in the ability to nurture growth and empower others. As the afternoon progressed, David felt a profound sense of gratitude. He had come expecting a simple moment with his daughter, but he had gained a deeper understanding of life, love, and guidance. Mia had taught him patience, humility, and the importance of trust. Ms. Lorna had demonstrated the power of quiet leadership and unwavering principles. Together, they had created a turning point in David's perspective, one that would shape his approach to parenting and life forever. As the sun began to dip toward the horizon, David knew it was time to return home. He helped Mia into the car once more, securing her safely for the ride. As they drove, he reflected on the day's events, realizing that every challenge, every moment of tension, and every lesson had been an opportunity for growth for both Mia and himself. David felt a renewed sense of purpose. He knew that the journey of parenting was not simply about providing, but about observing, guiding, and empowering. He understood that his daughter's growth required patience, encouragement, and trust, and he felt a deep pride in the young girl beside him who had shown courage, leadership, and empathy beyond her years. By the time they arrived home, David's heart was light, filled with admiration for Mia and gratitude for the lessons he had learned. He knew that the turning point of the day was not just the completion of a project, the realization that true growth and strength came from experience, guidance, and trust. He had witnessed it firsthand in the classroom, on the playground, and in the small moments shared with his daughter as they entered their home. David smiled at Mia. "You did wonderfully today, sweetheart. I am proud of you." Mia returned his smile, her eyes shining with joy. "Thank you, Daddy. I learned a lot today, and I had fun too." David realized that the day had been a gift-hand, unexpected journey of learning, patience, and growth. He had arrived expecting to teach, but he had learned far more than he could have imagined. The turning point was clear. True love, guidance, and strength were found not in control or authority, but in the quiet support and encouragement that allowed others to shine. David, Malik, and Mia returned home as the evening sun cast a warm glow over the city. The car ride was quiet, filled with the soft hum of the engine and the occasional comment from Mia about the playground they had just left. David's mind, however, was alive with reflection. Today had begun as a simple surprise visit, but it had transformed into a series of lessons about patience, leadership, guidance, and love. Mia glanced at him with a bright smile. "Daddy, can we have a small celebration now?" "Just for me?" David smiled, feeling a warmth in his chest he had rarely experienced in his business dealings. "Of course, sweetheart. Let's do something special. But I also want to tell you something important about today." Mia turned her attention fully to her father, curiosity lighting her face. "You showed something incredible today," David began, choosing his words carefully. "You helped your friends, led your group, and solved problems with kindness and confidence. Those are lessons that cannot be taught with gifts or money. You learned them through experience, and I am proud of you." Mia beamed, her eyes shining with pride. "I liked helping them, Daddy, and Ms. Lorna helped me too. She told me how to guide my friends." David nodded, feeling a deep respect for the teacher who had challenged him in his expectations. He had arrived ready to assert control. But Ms. Lorna's calm and unwavering approach had shown him a different kind of strength. She had taught his daughter valuable lessons in leadership, patience, and empathy, and in doing so, had also taught him the meaning of true guidance. "Ms. Lorna is amazing, isn't she?" David said softly, as much to himself as to Mia. "She helped you grow today in ways I could not. I am grateful for her dedication." Mia smiled. "Yes, Daddy. She always believes we can do more." "I like that." David felt a surge of admiration for both Mia and her teacher. The day had shown him that growth came not from comfort or instant gratification, but from challenge, guidance, and trust. He realized that his role as a parent was not just to protect, but to support, empower, and allow his daughter to face challenges, learn from them, and grow stronger. Once inside their home, David helped Mia settle into her favorite spot by the window. He brought out a small tray with fruit, juice, and a few treats he knew she loved. It was a modest celebration, but it was meaningful. Today was not about extravagance. It was about recognition of effort, achievement, and growth. As they enjoyed their small feast, David reflected on the morning's events. The confrontation in the classroom, the guidance of Ms. Lorna, and Mia's courage had created a turning point, not just in Mia's growth, but in his own understanding of parenting and leadership. He realized that patience, trust, and encouragement were far more powerful than control or authority. Mia reached for his hand. "Daddy, I want to try helping my friends more tomorrow. I think I can teach them something new." David squeezed her hand gently, feeling a swell of pride. "I am sure you will, sweetheart. You have learned the value of patience, teamwork, and leadership. These are lessons that will guide you for the rest of your life." He paused, thinking about Ms. Lorna once more. The teacher's quiet strength had challenged his assumptions, showing him that true guidance required consistency, fairness, and belief in the potential of others. David realized that educators like her were shaping the future in ways that wealth and power could never achieve. They were teaching courage, resilience, and empathy, the foundations of character and humanity. As Mia finished her snack, David decided to write a small note to Ms. Lorna. He wanted to express his gratitude, not with money or gifts, but with words that conveyed respect and appreciation. He carefully wrote, thanking her for her dedication, patience, and guidance, acknowledging that she had played a crucial role in helping Mia grow into a confident, capable, and compassionate child. After sending the note, David turned to Mia. "You know, sweetheart, Today was special not just because of what you accomplished, but because of how much we both learned. I learned that sometimes the greatest way to help someone is to trust them and let them face challenges, even when it is hard. Mia nodded thoughtfully. I understand, Daddy. I saw how patient you were, and it helped me do my best. David smiled, realizing that the lessons of the day were mutual. He had come expecting to teach, but he had learned far more than he could have imagined. Mia's courage, empathy, and intelligence had inspired him. Just as Miss Lorna's guidance had shown him the importance of trust, patience, and mentorship, the evening continued with laughter and conversation. David and Mia played small games, talked about their favorite stories, and shared dreams for the future. Each moment reinforced the understanding that growth, love, and guidance were intertwined. He realized that parenting was not about control or authority, but about providing space, encouragement, and the tools for success. As night fell, David helped Mia prepare for bed. He tucked her in carefully, smoothing her hair and adjusting her blanket. "Good night, sweetheart," he whispered. "I am proud of you today, and I know you will continue to grow and shine." Mia smiled sleepily. "Good night, Daddy. Thank you for staying with me and watching me today." David kissed her forehead gently, feeling a sense of fulfillment he had rarely experienced in his business life. Today had been more than a surprise visit. It had been a journey of growth, reflection, and understanding. He realized that the greatest achievements were not measured in wealth, influence, or power, but in character, courage, and the impact we have on others. After Mia fell asleep, David sat quietly in the living room. Reflecting on the lessons he had learned, Ms. Lorna's approach had taught him that true guidance required patience and trust. Mia had shown him that growth comes from experience, challenge, and courage, and he understood now that his role as a parent was to provide support, encouragement, and empowerment, allowing those he loved to shine in their own way. The next morning, David returned to his busy life, but the lessons of the previous day stayed with him. He approached his work with a new perspective, recognizing that leadership, whether in business or parenting, was about empowering others, guiding growth, and valuing character over immediate results at school. Ms. Lorna noticed a difference in David. He was no longer the impatient parent who sought immediate results. Instead, he approached her with respect and gratitude, acknowledging her role in Mia's growth. "Thank you again for everything you do," he said sincerely. "I understand now how much your guidance shapes her future." Ms. Lorna smiled, appreciating his acknowledgement. "Thank you, David. It means a lot to hear that. Mia is capable of great things, and together, we can help her grow into her full potential." David nodded, realizing that the respect and trust between parent and teacher were essential for nurturing growth. He had learned that collaboration, patience, and shared values were as important as love, care, and protection. As the weeks passed, David continued to support Mia, but he did so with a new understanding. He allowed her to face challenges, encouraged her leadership, and celebrated her efforts and achievements. He realized that this approach strengthened not only Mia, but also their bond. She grew more confident, independent, and capable with each passing day. And David felt a deep pride in witnessing her development. Mia's progress did not go unnoticed. Her friends admired her leadership, her teachers recognized her growth, and David saw firsthand the impact of patience, guidance, and encouragement. The lessons of that single day continued to resonate, shaping their relationship and influencing the way David approached challenges in life. One afternoon, David received a small gift from Miss Lorna, framed note with Mia's project and a message about leadership, patience, and empathy. He placed it in his office as a reminder of the day's lessons. It served as a symbol of the power of guidance, mentorship, and the impact of educators who dedicate themselves to helping children grow. As David watched Mia play in the yard, leading a small group of neighborhood children in a creative game, he reflected on how far she had come. She had learned to guide, to empathize, and to inspire others. And he had learned alongside her, gaining a deeper understanding of love, leadership, and growth. David knew that this journey was only beginning. Life would continue to present challenges, but he was now equipped with patience, understanding, and respect for the processes that shaped character and potential. He had witnessed firsthand the power of guidance, mentorship, and encouragement, and he was committed to nurturing these values in Mia and in himself. That evening, as David tucked Mia into bed once more, he felt a sense of completeness. Today, tomorrow, and every day after, he would continue to support her growth, not by controlling, but by empowering. Not by rushing, but by trusting. Not by imposing, but by guiding. Mia smiled sleepily. "Daddy, I think I am ready for new challenges now." David kissed her forehead gently. "And I know you will face them with courage, strength, and kindness. I am proud of you always." As he left her room, David reflected on the journey they had shared. From the surprise visit to the classroom confrontation, from the lessons learned in patience and leadership to the quiet celebration at home, the day had transformed him. He had discovered that wealth and influence could provide comfort, but they could never replace the lessons of experience, guidance, and trust.